The politicking and horse trading begun in earnest as the 2027 political game is now in full force. Tonight we'll be dissecting some of the issues as far as the interest of the average Nigerian is concerned. Former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, has been rearrested by the DSS. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale right here in Abuja. Well, tonight there are a lot of issues for conversation on the state of the nation, the performance of the government, the expectation of the Nigerian people, the elections, the 2027 policy. Everything seems to be on the table for us to dissect, and we'll be taking them one after the other for you tonight. But first, let's tell you that the former Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, has been arrested by the Department of State Services, the DSS. It was shortly after he was released on bail when the former AGF was taken by operatives of the DSS, who we understand now is under investigation by the secret police institution. Let's now check out some of your political roundup stories.
The resident electoral commissioner for the FCT, Mr. Aminu Idris, says there are over 128,000 uncollected permanent voter cards in the Federal Capital Territory ahead of the area council elections in February. According to him, the over 128,000 uncollected PVCs comprised of old and new registrants who are yet to collect their cards. Speaking on efforts to clean up the voter register ahead of the election next month, the INEC boss says the commission discovered over 4,000 multiple registrations which have been removed from the register. Dozens of protesters carrying placards have stormed the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC in Abuja, calling for investigations into what they describe as fraud, the political wars delineation of Warri Federal Constituency in Delta State. The protesters were mainly of the Shekiri ethnic nationality, accuse the commission of lopsidedness in the delineation exercise and are asking the commission not to proceed with the current delineation results for the 2027 general election. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission says it is looking at the various petitions that trailed the exercise and assured the protesters that their concerns will be fairly treated. Governor Usman Ododo of Kogi State has issued a stern warning to criminal elements hibernating in rural areas of the state to immediately relocate or prepare to face massive onslaught from security agencies in the state. Governor Ododo gave this warning in Lokoja, the capital of Kogi State, when he unveiled 2 advanced security drones and a new fleet of security assets procured by the state government to boost security operations across the state. According to him, the safety of the people of the state is his administration's priority, and assured that he will not relent in supporting security agencies to get rid of criminals. Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State has convened an expanded stakeholders security meeting, issuing clear guidelines to traditional leaders on their role in crime prevention and mitigation within their respective domains. The meeting was attended by heads of all security agencies, emirs, chiefs, and other relevant government officials. Governor Mohammed emphasized the need for constant vigilance to tackle evolving security threats and to prevent the escalation of minor crimes into major challenges. In Enugu State, residents and political leaders of Nome Unateze ward in Nkanu East local government area of the state, according to them, the exercise is an opportunity to throw their full weight behind Governor Peter Mbah and President Bola Tinubu in the forthcoming general election. Speaking at the event, the Senior Special Assistant on Media to the Governor, Uche Anichukwu, says the massive turnout shows that the people are satisfied with the performance of the Enugu State government and his alignment with the national ruling party in the state. To Rivers State, where the spokesman of the Emeka Beke group of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Darlington Muju, is calling for the resignation of the party's National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Felix Morka. Muju, who stated this at a news conference in Port Harcourt, says this has become necessary following some unsavory comments made by Mr. Morka during a live television interview. He expressed disappointment that a national officer of the APC would downplay the serious issue of a self-serving impeachment process against a serving APC governor.
Thank you so much, everyone. And that is it for your political roundup stories. You've been served. Now, Nigeria stands as a very defining moment, one where economic reforms, political realignment, and regional expectations are converging. Even as citizens now talk about the daily pressures on them of a changing national landscape. The politics of 2027 is no longer a distant conversation. It has begun, quietly in some places, loudly in others, shaping alliances, testing loyalties, and sharpening debates about power, succession, and the direction of the country. The ruling and the opposition political parties are strategizing across party lines. We're seeing movement and maneuvers suggesting that the contest for the future of Nigeria is already underway. At the same time, the federal government has commenced the new tax regime, insisting it is critical to stabilizing public finances and funding development. Supporters will argue reform is inevitable. Critics warn of added strain on households and businesses already stretched by inflation and rising living costs. The question many Nigerians are asking tonight is simple but profound. Who bears the burden and who benefits? Well, these are national debates to be taken on and added to the complexity that one has seen and viewed through regional lenses, particularly from the north, where economic pressures, security concerns, and political expectations and questions of inclusion continue to shape public discourse. Tonight, the northern politics remains central to Nigeria's stability, electoral arithmetic, and the broader conversation about unity and fairness in the federation. Let me show you this map, for example, so you understand the share and the control of power across the nation. A very domineering and dominating political party in Nigeria, the People's Democratic Party, has been so decimated that they have been reduced only to Bauchi, Oyo, Zamfara states. And you can find a few of other states like Anambra State, Osun State, that are from with other political parties like ABGA, Accord. Now, in the real sense of it, if you see any political party like Kano in NNPP, that may soon be, the color might soon change dramatically to what we're seeing playing out right now. So you see a domination of the Nigerian political map as far as the governorship control and the political permutations are concerned. From Sokoto down to Akwa Ibom, it's all in the color of the APC. And you know what that means. And then those who are arguing, is our nation now being thrown into what looks like a one-party controlled country? Oyo, Zamfara, Bauchi, and Adamawa State, these are the 4 states that the PDP currently owns. A party that controlled about 28 states at some point in this country has now been reduced to a minority political party in our country. What exactly is going on? Anambra has ABGA, Abia has Labour Party, Kano has NNPP. People will say it's just for a few hours, that will all change. What does this portend for the 2027 politics in Nigeria? Tonight, I'm being joined by a member of the Northern Elders Forum and a former special advisor on political matters to President Bola Tinubu, a seasoned public intellectual and insider to power. He brings both institutional experience and a distinct northern perspective to the issues shaping Nigeria's present and its political future. Dr. Hakim Baba-Ahmed is my guest tonight on the program. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Happy New Year to you.
Same to you, Shehu. It's good to see you. How are you?
I'm all right. Good to see you.
Great, as usual.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. Well, you see the map I've just shown our viewers on the screen. And if you look just behind you, you see what this means. I don't agree that Nigeria is a one-party state. It's almost an impossibility in our democracy. Yes, the opposition needs to wake up because you understand politics so much that a political party will want to have it all, and you cannot blame them. Sure. But what is the opposition doing, right? APC under Bola Tinubu has done what even Obasanjo in the PDP couldn't achieve. But see what is going on. Can we blame Bola Tinubu and the APC for this dominating factor in our politics?
I'm afraid my thinking is slightly different. People tend to think because the APC has all these states, the APC has the country. It doesn't. It doesn't have the country. It has governors. Oh yeah, governors, senators, members of the House of Reps have all defected there in the party. You could just end up with a party which is massively present in the country and yet very far away from the people. The reason you have to ask yourself first, what is the reason, what is the sense behind this phenomenon? As we speak, I think we have about 26, 27 governors in APC. What does this party want all these governors, all these senators, all these members of the House of Reps? You have to ask yourself, if it is doing so well, why is it amassing all these, the entire political class? That's a phenomenon we haven't seen, as you said in your introduction. We haven't seen it before. We've seen something close to it, but we haven't seen this. So you have to ask. The APC is the party of the politician, of the office holder. It's not necessarily the party of the people. There's a difference between the two. Then you have to ask, what is this obsession with getting governors to defect and senators to defect? Everybody in the same camp. By the time we're talking about 5-6 months to the elections, you can count the number of people who are outside the APC in politics. Now, does this guarantee the APC will just simply walk back into power? I'm afraid it doesn't. I think the assumptions and the computations of the APC are fundamentally flawed. They think if they have all the governors in their kitty, they have all the legislators, they have the country. So the mistake they would make is to assume that we really don't have much to do. The opposition is weak. We've got all the governors, all the money in the world to come back, and then they have to face the people.
And this is also very interesting, and I'll come to some other fundamental questions about this political map that we're seeing. And you know very much, Dr. Kim Baba-Ahmed, you are so politically savvy that you know that most of these governors, yes, they don't represent the totality of the interests of the people of their state, but you know what they say about political structure. And in Nigeria, these are the political structure that wins election, whether you like it or not. They do, and it happens. And in all of the majority of the percentage of cases, it works. And sometimes it has failed. And we are seeing it in contemporary times that it has failed, structures have failed. And you will see what happened in the case of Peter Obi, for example, in Lagos, which is the state of the incumbent president, Bola Tinubu. He defeated Bola Tinubu in Lagos. Nobody would ever have thought that if Peter Obi was going to win anything, maybe win landslide in Anambra, neighbor Abia State, Imo State, Ebonyi State, but not in Lagos, where Bola Tinubu had elsewhere for over 20 years. Now, things are changing. Times are changing. The factors are there. But don't you think that these structures that we're talking about, you know what some of these governors have done? Move to the APC, but they still control the other party. So essentially, they own two political parties.
Let me take you up on, let me disagree with you. First about Lagos. I think Lagos, it's a loud statement of complacency. President Tinubu just simply took it for granted. The Lagos was his. And the ethnic complexion of Lagos state has changed in the last 25 years beyond what anybody understands. Obi played a fundamental, basically ethnic card in Lagos. And it worked for him. So I'm afraid I'm going to disagree with you about Lagos. Lagos is not a very good example to make in terms of having structures and therefore guaranteeing that you get. Because Tinubu also had structures. His governor won. This was his home state. So you would imagine, no matter, I think.
But what could have happened, Doctor?
I think they were just simply.
If the governor's election
I think they were so
happened on the same day. that would have been the end, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, they would have lost Lagos.
Yeah,
he would still have won the election.
Yeah.
He would have won the election, and he did lose Lagos. He lost Lagos.
But they quickly recalibrated ahead of the governorship election.
Yes, and this is another different conversation. So somebody was asking me a few days ago, what do I think about the contemplation of a one-day election? And I told them, no, forget it. It won't happen. Too dangerous, too difficult to organize. But that's not what we're talking about. Yeah. You're talking about structures. Yeah. When you talk about structures, basically you're talking about money. The money to keep loyalists in place, the money for the loyalists to buy votes on voting days. So we need to get back. If what we see here represents the actual spread of the APC across the country, two things have to happen. One is you have to hope. You have to hope that we actually have credible, free and fair election so that the votes of the people reflect this spread. And this is very important. And many times people don't take this into consideration. I was involved in the 2015 elections. We never had anything like this. But I will remind you, 2015 election, President Buhari simply painted the entire North, virtually the entire North, with his APC colors, and got huge numbers of votes from other parts of the country. The people voted against politicians, and he won that election against the PDP. You know, now I think the flaw in the argument in the thinking of the APC is that because they've got all these huge numbers of politicians, all of them clamoring to come back, they've got the country. They are wrong. They still have a huge amount of work to do.
So this doesn't amount to a Bola Tinubu or APC re-election?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. They have to do two basic things, and they are very difficult. One, they have to vastly improve the perception of their record. Not the record itself.
What is the perception?
It's very poor. It's very poor. I'm just coming from the street. I'm basically a person of the street now. and I can tell you, they do not command the kind of support among the poor people that they think they have.
So the APC is presently very unpopular?
It's a party of the elite. It's a party of office holders. It's a party of people who are virtually guaranteed they don't have to do anything to get back to power. That is a very, very bad thinking. And if they think that we don't need to to convince Nigerians, okay, we may not have done as well as we wanted in security, in economy, in education, in infrastructure, but we've got all these politicians. And these politicians have all the money, and all the money will buy you all the votes. There can be a breaking point where the citizen, the voter, says, no, I'm sorry, no. But, like I said, it depends really on whether we have free and fair election. And I'm very reluctant to give a verdict on this, and yet it is absolutely vital that the 2027 elections are conducted in a free, credible manner. Because if they are not, whatever size the APC has, if somebody attempts to tamper, and they shouldn't, with all these politicians saying we have all these structures and we will just simply sleep through the voting day, and come back, they should not tamper with the electoral process.
Do you think they could, is in this day and time that is possible, especially under a Professor Amopiton? You were a former secretary at INEC. You know the possibilities. You think that someone can want to rig 2027 election?
Elections are not rigged from Abuja. They are rigged in the field. They are rigged in polling units, in collation points. Technology that we are trying to see if we can get completely in place between now and 2027, the transmission of elections, is no system that cannot be tampered with. Now, two things are likely to be vital in terms of giving the APC the confidence that having a room full of politicians guarantees you a return. One is that these politicians will go out and campaign and convince Nigerians that, okay, our records, especially the governors, and there are a lot of governors with massive problems in their states. Now, they have defected, and they are now in the safe room thinking, okay, we're an APC. We are guaranteed coming back. They are doubly offending the population. They haven't performed well. And now suddenly they are now wearing a different jersey, and they think they can play against their former team and win. The point I'm making is that complacency and arrogance are the two things that can follow this kind of spread.
And we've seen it happen also, because you say you blame the loss of President Bola Tinubu in Lagos to complacency.
Yes, absolutely.
And that similar complacency can replay itself.
There's another argument. There's another reason. You wait and see in the next 3-4 months when the APC implodes.
It will.
For every position, governor, senators, members of the House of Reps, there are likely to be 4 or 5 people who legitimately expect that they will get a ticket. There are loyalists, people who have served this party for the last 10, 15, 20 years. There are defectors who have come in with bags of money thinking they will just simply walk into a ticket. There are other fixers who think they can guarantee who gets that ticket or not. These are people who who would wait and see if they don't get that ticket. They have no business being in the APC. The loyalty of the APC big man is very short. They are there only for one and only one reason: to get power. If he doesn't get a ticket, what's he doing in the party? They'll walk out. And you will see, for every position, you are now going to see 3 or 4 people. And President Tinubu is not going to be able to sit in the villa and simply say, what state? And they will say, sir, who do we put here? He doesn't have the capacity to do this. He doesn't have the power to do this. The party itself doesn't have the power to do this. They're already in I saw a few weeks ago, the president was inaugurating a reconciliation committee. Reconciliation committee for a party that is gulping up everybody. It's because they anticipate trouble. That's good thinking, actually. They are anticipating trouble.
They already,
and they
I understand they're even meeting in Abuja today.
Well, there you are.
Yeah, and perhaps one of the structures that I understand that they said they're putting in place is the role of a governor who moves into the party. Yeah. Naturally becomes the 001 of the party in that state. How do you accept when there is the minister sitting minister? It's only the likes of, I saw Festus Keyamo, who welcomed the governor of Delta State and said, look, we relinquish the power. You are the leader of our party. Yes. Those are real situations, and which you have said, this kind of problem will come up.
It will come up.
And already, there are states, there are already people. It was a graveyard silence and quiet just because the president intervened. Osun State, for example.
Yes.
You hoodwinked or you took, twisted the likes of Babajide Omowolare.
Absolutely.
Senator Omishore.
Absolutely.
And you've disallowed these people to run, and there are quiet agitation about the position of the candidate. And this, like you said, is going to... But those who believe that this political sagacity of Bola Tinubu is done this, is used to maintain Lagos, is used to also get Osun, get Ekiti, get Ogun State, and populated the then ACN from the AD to the ACN and made it somewhat one of the biggest political parties in Nigeria. And those who will say, in the last minute, Bola Tinubu knows what to do. If you put the picture and image of Bola Tinubu in a room, it will resolve the problem. Those are what his followers will say on his mandate, they will stand. Those are what they believe.
My thinking is it's quite possible that the remnants of PDP and ADC might actually reap where they didn't sow. Right now they're sitting on ADC is sitting on his hands waiting for a miracle. PDP is virtually gone. But not entirely. There will be people...
Look at it.
Yes.
PDP is actually the strongest party after APC.
Yes.
Although sprinkled across the country. Or your family, there, because there are those who say Seyi Makinde is going to be a good candidate. There are those who have said Seyi Makinde has done a fantastic job in Oyo State, a fantastic candidate he will be for a presidential election. Whether or not that is going to happen. And Bauchi, for example, is another very resilient governor who says is going to be the voice of the opposition. Adamawa said, how that will go with Atiku being in ADC and Fintiri being in the PDP, it's very contestable. Zamfara, there are those who are talking in the ears of the governor whether to move to the APC and all whatnot, whether it still remains in the PDP. So it's going to be a very interesting one, isn't it? Maybe the PDP is going to benefit or reap, or whether or not ADC has the structure enough to be able to cause an upset.
Let me share with you, I had a very interesting conversation with a very prominent ADC person, a PDP person. And I said, well, explain to me what you're still doing in this party that had virtually been demolished between the party, between APC and very sensitive state structures, governance structures, including the judiciary. And he says, well, we are waiting for these same people who walked out to walk back. And I said, yeah, I know there is likely to be an implosion within APC. Do you think they will come back here? And he said, where else would they go? There will be, for every one governor position, you're going to have 5 or 6 very, very strong and powerful contenders. Who's going to separate this fight? If everybody has these structures, everybody is a very powerful person, both the loyalists and the defectors, and the president gets involved, or the party at the very highest level gets involved in terms of choosing, no, it's got to be him, not you. And you can, we can give you an ambassador, we'll make you a minister. What about the others? So there will be an implosion. ADC can leave its door open. If I was advising ADC, I would say, well, since you guys are not busy telling the country what you would do differently from President Tinubu, you are waiting for a convention to decide who flies their flag. Maybe you will wait for a miracle. Maybe there will be a huge number of PDP people who would walk out in anger because the average politician is just simply interested in office, in a ticket, in winning an election, not anything else. If he doesn't get it, he will move to the next place. So both ADC and PDP are well placed to benefit from this. Yeah. What they make of it is a different issue entirely. Don't also rule out some kind of electoral alliance between ADC and PDP. The point I'm making is that I think the APC, in spite of all the sagacity of President Tinubu, who I don't see him being sagacious, he doesn't appear to be very present in terms of all these things that are going on. I know he met with Abba, the governor of Kano, yesterday and gave the final nod, let him in. But I'm not sure they've done all their homework in Kano yet. Other places were easier. Kano is a peculiar.
Abba can perform any magic if he doesn't have the backing of Kwankwaso in Kano.
Well, he doesn't have the backing of Kwankwaso. I think it's a done deal. The parting is complete. And unfortunately, if I was advising Kwankwaso, I would have said stay. Stay in your party.
In NNPP.
Yes,
but
I know
there are in NNPP.
I know. The point is that everybody thinks, okay, the judiciary is now the key decider of what happens in all parties. It's the judiciary. They want to destroy you, they just take you to court. They know how to work the judiciary around it, and they cripple you. And that is really sad for our democracy, that the judiciary has been dragged into this situation so badly by the politician himself, that the judges are the ones who are deciding which part of the party succeeds, which ones goes under, and it's really sad and very dangerous. Democracy cannot exist on one leg.
Are you? I don't know what I'm going to put you right on the spot. I don't know what you think about your younger brother's decision to stay back in the Labour Party, and I'm talking about Baba-Ahmed. And not moving with Peter Obi, because one would think that both of them were Siamese as far as the last election was concerned, and how they were going to move. What kind of picture does it paint to you?
I think that his position is well informed. He took a look at the ADC. He took a look at the key players there, who they are, what they stand for, on what they don't stand for, because they don't say what they are. They just are saying we are opposed to the APC. I think he took a very critical, he has a very fond view of Obi. They've come a long way. They went through hell, man. Yeah, and they have an excellent interpersonal relationship. But he also looked at Obi. Moving from Labour to ADC would put Datti in the midst of people that he really has very little regard for. I know this. He says it in more forceful manners than I do. But I think that I admire his principle in terms of standing where he is and not running with the crowd. And I think Obi can look after himself. Obi understands Datti very well. Obi himself, I'm afraid, is also in a limbo.
Is he?
I wish he isn't. Yeah. He's one of the politicians I really had high regards for. I still have some high regards for. But look, you get a politician who has a lot of popular people, people who admire him. You walk into a ready-made house and you say, give me the keys to this house, or I walk out. And they say, walk out. He wants the ticket. He's not interested in convention or no convention. They're telling him, Mr. Obi, leave your load here and wait for convention. And he says, no. I'm not going to be anybody's number two. I'm not going to be anybody's, forget convention. I'm here for the ticket. And he had people who said to him, if you can't wait for the convention, you do not respect the democratic process within the party, inter-party democracy enough, then go. And he's not alone. There are a lot of people in the ADC whose luggage is still packed. They haven't unpacked it because there are massive issues involved. And I've said this in your program, I've said it in other places. I wish to God the ADC had risen to the occasion months back and done some incredible things outside the box that will say to Nigerians, listen, there is an alternative to APC. The reason why so many politicians are moving into APC is because they don't see an option. And these are politicians who are only interested in one thing. I want to get elected or re-elected. So they look around for electable parties that will give them platforms.
And you mentioned these, and I'll quickly ask you before we go on a break. You said that the ADC looks like a ready-made platform. And those who are on the inside would say it's looking like a machinery tailor-made for Atiku to run in 2027. Do you see those handwriting?
Well, I haven't seen anything else beyond very, very powerful politicians just sitting there saying, we would win the elections in 2027. I ask myself, how? You see an APC that has amassed 95% of the office holders, all this money in their hands, all this power in their hands, all these structures in their hands, and you win with what? With what? With your name? With your reputation?
So they are not being realistic?
No, they should have done something a year ago. The moment they were relatively safer. The one thing good they have done is they avoided some of the massive setbacks that they throw the judiciary at you and you're dead. So ADC waited until maybe it was in dry territory, and then it unveils itself. Now, so it says we are the ADC. And Nigerians are saying, and then what? Tell us what you are about. Apart from maybe this one wants to be president, this one wants to be a minister, this one wants to be. Tell us about you. What would you do differently for security? What would you do differently about the economy? What would you do differently about integrating the country?
So I asked you that question because, and I don't know whether or not Peter Obi has some things to learn from Nyesom Wike about party primaries, especially having to go head-to-head with Atiku Abubakar. That man seems to have a master stroke in winning party primaries.
Are you talking about Wike now?
Atiku Abubakar. And I'm saying whether or not Peter Obi needs to learn something from Nyesom Wike. Sometimes when you lose, you have a lot of wisdom to share in your loss. And I'm saying that for those who who think Peter Obi, the only reason why Peter Obi will be in the ADC is because he's going to be the flag bearer of the ADC. And people are forgetting that there's a Rotimi Amechi in the ADC.
Yes.
People should ask Bola Tinubu who Rotimi Amechi is when he ran against him for the ticket of the party.
Yeah.
And perhaps you should go and ask Ian Wike the kind of dramatic political game Atiku played against him in the PDP 2023 political primary. And that's what I'm saying. It looks very dicey, isn't it? But it looks like they have very strong candidate that could be the flag bearer.
I think almost certainly, and I'm guessing now, if ADC goes to convention, and it almost certainly will, and it will only because that's what Vice President Atiku wants. He will get the ticket. And then a lot of people will walk out. Because a lot of people are in that party only for the same thing. They want the ticket. So then ADC will have its own problems. But you raise the issue about the similarity and the weaker experience and what Peter Obi needs to understand. One of the reasons I think Peter Obi is saying, hey, listen, look at me. This is Peter Obi. I'm not here for number 2. I'm not here for convention. I'm here to fly the flag. And he's getting people who are saying to him, initially in whispers and politely, and now they're saying to him, listen, join the queue. You're not the only one with ambition here. Look around you in this room. There are 1 or 2 people who have been here from day one. And they're sitting there waiting. And you're walking here and saying, Peter Obi doesn't do conventions. Or he just goes there to be anointed. So ADC will bleed after its convention because almost certainly Vice President Atiku will get the ticket.
And when he does?
And when he does, some people will walk out. Because
the party might crumble.
It will be severely damaged. Because they would need, we're talking about a few more months to an election. How much damage control can you do against a party that already it's got all this money, all these politicians, a lot of, and maybe some sensitive state institutions would also be.
Give me a moment, Dr. Baba-Ahmed, because I need to go on a break. But when we come back, there are also fundamental questions. And we'll be getting the northern perspectives through the election of 2027, especially if you critically analyze the Bola Tinubu government in the assessment of going into the 3rd year. What do Nigerians think about the performance vis-a-vis the promises made? Could we achieve a politics of national unity? How is that possible? The defections and the realignment, what it means for us as a people. After this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right on the program. Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed has been speaking with us on the program. Dr. Atiku Abubakar is a former spokesperson of the Northern Elders Forum and a former special advisor to President Tinubu on political affairs. Thanks so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you.
You gave what could be a reality check for anyone who has been following the politics of our nation in the last few years. That the reality is that Atiku Abubakar could be the flag bearer of ADC. Evidently, and there are factors that is showing that. But if he goes, he's going to go head to head with Bola Tinubu one more time. But could he win?
He can win if his party successfully awakens a population that is desperate for a change. If he can come up with very, very good ideas about changing the trajectory of the nation, if he can identify what the solutions to our insecurity is and say to Nigerians, listen, this is we have ideas, and he can show some of them. If he has a very clear campaign that commits itself to just 3 or 4 key things that he has to do, and I think he can, if he exposes the rot under which sits under this government, there's a huge amount of incompetence. You hear about corruption. I don't have the evidence for that, but you hear about it. You have a room full of extremely wealthy politicians who have nothing to show but money, and very poor records. So if President Atiku gets the ticket, first of all, and then undertakes an excellent campaign that says to Nigerians, I understand what your problems are. I know insecurity is a major problem. I know we're desperate in terms of the way we live. I can fix Nigeria. And then he gets enough Nigerians to say, we're not just following Atiku, we're part of the team. We're not just Atiku boys. Look around you. There's a whole of Nigeria. We're not just a room full of Atiku loyalists. I think he can win. But they have a huge amount of work to do.
And I mean, we've not spoken about the personality of a Rotimi Amechi. And in the primaries, when you have Rotimi Amechi, Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi on the ballot, and there's a possibility of another man, Aminu Tambuwal. It's going to be a very, very interesting race, I suppose. But in the real sense of it, right, is the fact that there is a 6 million votes that Atiku brings in the kitty. There is a 6 million votes that Peter Obi brought with him in the kitty. Put those two together will give approximately 30 million votes. If the history of our elections is anything to go by, based on 2023 election, the election is won and lost by Bola Tinubu. I mean, won by Atiku and lost by Bola Tinubu, because if those figures remain, Bola Tinubu would have only 8 million, and Atiku would have come with Peter Obi, both of them getting 12 million votes if they stick together to the very end. But there are those who will say Peter Obi may not get those figures any longer. Atiku may not get all of those figures altogether. But will Tinubu be able to retain that 8 million or get more?
Well, I'm glad you said some people. You're using 2023 figures. The world is vastly different, Shehu, between 2023 and now. The world has changed.
In just 3 years? Seriously.
In those 3 years, the world has changed. So much has happened. The economic circumstances under which people live in this country is absolutely horrendous.
So based on the economic situation of the things, Bola Tinubu cannot win election.
I am saying that President Tinubu's record on the management of the economy and on security is very poor.
What does it mean in terms of election?
In terms of election, if you give people a choice between President Tinubu and another credible candidate, they will vote for another candidate. I assure you. But it depends.
President Tinubu is not electable in your own books as of today, based on his performance and the delivery of what is promised.
As we speak, if we have an election in 3 months' time, and you have a good candidate against President Tinubu, I think President Tinubu will lose. If the election is credible and free and fair, I always raise this issue. It has to be credible and free and fair.
But can we have a guaranteed free and fair election?
Well,
is it possible?
We can't. I'm praying, if in the interest of the survival of this country, that somebody somewhere does not tamper with the credibility of the 2027 election.
Is there an implication if that happens?
Of course. I don't think people would accept it. If it is done so poorly, and levels of desperation arise among politicians who think unless we tamper with the election, we remember elections, rigged elections are known by the people. They know. They go to the polling units. They know the votes have to be announced there. They know who wins these elections. There's a Nigerian saying that says, you can't rig every election. There are only elections that you can rig, and they have to be really close in order for you to rig them safely. And there are hardly any elections in this country that aren't rigged. Anyway, the point is, politicians should desist, run away from the temptation to tamper with the credibility of the 2027 election. This is at the heart of the possibility of the survival of democracy in this country. I can't say it anymore emphatically. So, if APC wants to win this election, from part of the country I come from, the northern part of the country, it has a huge amount of work to do. Unfortunately, the energy that it's deploying is being deployed in terms of people walking away from the people and into a party where they think they are safe. What they should be doing is governors should be improving and increasing their presence and their impact in the lives of people. members of the National Assembly shouldn't be saying yes, to Tinubu, and they should be seen to be saying once in a while, saying, Mr. President, there is a legislature here. Our mandate came in a different envelope from yours. And we have a people to complain, to go back to and say, I was a senator, vote for me again. And people would say, what did you do? Apart from being in the same party, you defected to the president's party. That was your highest achievement. So you have all these people who still have to render accounts.
All right. And I'd like to ask you, what are your thinking within the Northern Elders Forum and some of the Northern elites and the leaders in the North? What are you thinking? A possibility of an Atiku Abubakar being on the ballot in 2027. Do you think that will cause some division politically for our country, with the fact that there are those who say for the balance, fairness and equity, that we should have a proper 8-year of a southerner from 2023 to 2031?
What is proper?
I mean, yeah. If Bola Tinubu, for example, had done 4 years, and going that it's just going to be right if Peter Obi had said and Rotimi Amechi had said, if we get elected, we only spend 4 years. And there are those who will say, if that happens, if Bola Tinubu returns, or Rotimi Amechi becomes a candidate, if Rotimi Amechi wins, or Peter Obi becomes a candidate, Peter Obi wins, it would have amounted to an 8 years of a southerner. Then there should be a return to the north. Don't you think?
See, there's APC and there's President Tinubu, and they are not the same one and the same thing. I had an interview here, a program with you here, where I said, if I had my way, 2 people would not run in 2027. They will not run at all. President Tinubu and Vice President Atiku. Then you have a really good chance of giving Nigerians a choice to pick the best candidate. The reason why President Tinubu shouldn't run, I think, is that he's run out of steam. I don't think that he has the capacity to continue to govern this country beyond 2027. I'm speaking honestly without any prejudice to him. I think he's fulfilled his ambition. He had become president of this country. By 2027, he would have served for 4 years. It would have been the best time for President Tinubu to say, I need a younger person. I need a healthier person. I need somebody who is more focused on governance. And for Vice President Atiku, the same thing. They really owe this country the responsibility to say, we don't have to be presidents in 2027. The country needs fresh blood. The country needs a new lease of life. We are the wrong people to provide it. I know I'm talking, it sounds crazy, but this is honestly what would have been the best thing. So, you have President Tinubu as a person.
Seems almost impossible.
Well,
because
I know,
they are
I know.
right, and these men that you're talking about, yet ideally, if you say this, politically speaking, in some sense, but almost impossible to tell Bola Tinubu, don't run in 2027. Tell Atiku, don't run in 2027.
Well, but it doesn't stop us from saying it. Sometimes the most impossible things are the best correct things as well. You'll be in your late 70s, 80s, whatever. You're challenged by so many things. And the country is becoming increasingly more and more difficult to govern. You can imagine the U.S. has the leverage. You hear stories that the U.S. is descending advice about who should be our vice president. Take a Christian, later don't go with a Muslim. I know they sound incredible, difficult to believe, especially for people of my generation, who remember when Nigeria would look at America and say, I won't use an impolite word, but we would tell them where to go and sit, and Britain and Europe. And suddenly now we have become so low that they're not only throwing bombs in our country, but they are also choosing for the president the faith of his number 2. Sending messages saying, don't pick another Muslim, pick a non-Muslim. You hear all this kind of thing. People hear them. Some believe it, some don't believe it. Anyway, the point I'm making is, if our politicians have the the right appropriate levels of patriotism and commitment, both of them can become incredibly powerful. President Atiku, Vice President Atiku, for instance, if he steps aside, he has the historic opportunity of becoming quite possibly a lot bigger, more powerful than the president. His candidate could win if he is not the candidate. For instance, just for the sake of argument, let's say he picks Tambuwal or Obi and says he will run for us and he would win for us against Tinubu or Amechi. All of you, I will step down. That's my sacrifice. In return, I want you to support him and support him as his number 2. And we will rally the country around these people. And we will defeat APC. And they campaign really hard. They combine the North and the South and say, this is it. Vote. And Northerner doesn't necessarily guarantee the country will be run better. Buhari has taught us a lot of lessons. One of Atiku's biggest liability is that being Northern is not good enough. This is unfortunately the poor record that Buhari left behind. People played the Northern card for 8 years. President Buhari left the country on its knees.
Well, and that's why I asked you that question. And I don't want us to gloss over it, about the thinking of the Northern elite and those of you who are in the Northern Elders Forum. Is it fair to have a Northern candidate run this country from 2027?
You know what is fair?
Yeah.
Sure. What is fair is allow parties to risk the candidates they field, allow Nigerians to choose. Stop this business of fairness or no fairness. Tinubu is not representing the southern part of this country, any more than Buhari represented Northerners. But politicians have succeeded in getting us into this very tight, very uncomfortable thinking process that says the South has to have 8 years. Which South? Are we talking about the Southeast? In which case, why don't we just give it to Obi? The Southeast has never had an evil president, elected evil president. Why don't we give it to them? Are we talking about the Southwest? They've had Obasanjo for 8 years. They have Tinubu now. Are we talking about the South? They had Jonathan. So when people talk about is it fair South against North, there's no such thing anymore. This is antiquated thinking. There is no one North.
It was antiquated until 2023.
No.
When Buhari was able to serve full 8 years.
Yes.
Is it now the turn of the South that has become antiquated?
No, because Buhari didn't contest 2019 on the basis that he was a Northerner. And somehow, unfortunately, this 8-year thing is haunting everybody, and it's becoming the kind of thing that people throw at each other. I know that before 2023, when I was the spokesman of the Northern Elders Forum, and we got really, really worked up against this tendency for people to say to the North, and Wike was in the front line of this. They would point at Northerners and say, don't you ever think about fielding a candidate. This is the turn of the South. No, we don't want to hear anything. No Northerner should contest the presidency of the country. And we would say, show us in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where it says a Northerner should not aspire to contest. So you asked me about the position of the North. As we speak, we're just looking for a good leader.
Whether from the South or from the North?
Anywhere in this country.
Okay. All right. Dr. Akim Baba-Ahmed, thank you so much indeed. Always a pleasure. 1 hour, never enough in having conversations with you. It's such a pleasure having you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to see you.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Well, that's our show for tonight again, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Akimale. God bless Nigeria.